star 572-0383 and 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Join the United Workers' Party this and every Thursday on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for an educational and informative program, Meet the Opposition. Participate in exciting discussions from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Be in the know every Thursday on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
The views and opinions shared on this show do not necessarily reflect those of Rev-Up St. Lucia, its owners, affiliates, or advertisers, and therefore cannot be held responsible for and will not be liable for the views, contents, and opinions expressed on this show by the host, their guests, and callers.
Time now for Meet the Opposition, hosted by Leonard Spider Matut. Mr. Matut, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Andre. Good morning to listeners and viewers, I would say. Welcome to all of you listening to us on Rev-Up, those you listening to us on live stream on Facebook, and of course, I'm pleased to announce that we are on YouTube and on X as well. So welcome to all of you watching or listening on via those mediums. And so we are happy to have you. And as always, I'm hoping that we're going to have a very exciting, very interesting, very informative program today. I mean, we're going to keep it a little toned down because, you know, I'm a Catholic. We're in Holy Week. You know, I'm not the staunchest, but you know, we're in Holy Week. But, you know, we're going to set you up nicely for the Easter weekend. Of course, tomorrow being Good Friday. Then we have, what is it? Holy Saturday, and then Easter Sunday, Easter Monday. And so before we go into this, however, there are lots of matters that we can touch on. I, of course, as always, do not restrict callers when we do open the lines to any particular subject. You can call in and make your contribution, but I just want to let you know today that I have a special guest in studio, and to the extent that we can, if we can engage our guests and maybe ask questions pertaining to his area. And I don't know if I should introduce my guest now, but he certainly will not be engaged right away. But just to let you know in advance, we have Harold Stanislas, who is our guest for today. And as you would be aware, Harold Stanislas is a former parliamentary representative for Soufrière and former senator as well for the United Workers' Party, opposition senator. And he is, so far, one of the 12 candidates that have been announced for the United Workers' Party. Now, I have always said on these programs, I've said on this program, that there are 12 new candidates. Of course, 12 new candidates and 5 returning candidates, which includes the political leader and leader of the opposition, Honorable Arnold Chasney, parliamentary representative for Swazelle, Honorable Bradley Felix. We have Harold Stanislas himself. We have Dominic Fede and Guy Joseph. Now, you say to me, I'm saying that there are 12 new candidates, but in all you have only heard the names of 12 candidates. It means, therefore, that there are 5 candidates pending, and it's just that, you know, my inside scoop tells me that all 5 of them are new candidates as well. So, you know, despite the fact that we have seen some new candidates already, quite a handful, we are going to get other new candidates, and may I dare say, without any bias or anything like that, quite a few impressive new candidates are going to be on the lineup for the United Workers' Party. And I want to congratulate the United Workers' Party for, you see, very often people become stuck in their old ways and remain stagnant and so on. The United Workers' Party has demonstrated that it can rejuvenate, it can, increase its vibrancy, and, it can transform itself for the future, to deal with the future. Because while you need experience, there are 5 of them, of the candidates that are experienced, who have parliamentary experience prior, but to guide the 12 new ones that are coming. But when I look at the caliber of the people among the 12 candidates, I think it is very impressive, and that puts the United Workers' Party in a very, very good position to hit the ground running come the next election after they've won the government, because there's no secret to anyone who's living in St. Lucia, if you're not under a rock, that there is a lot of work to be done. And of course, I am not suggesting to you that what I'm about to mention are the only things that need to be addressed. But I have my preferences. I say, and sometimes my daughter said to me, my preferences seem to reflect my age. But health is number one. Health is number one for me. Security is high up there for me. Cost of living is high up there for me. These are areas, and of course, as old as some might want to say that I am, I believe in continuous learning and education for the rest of your life, as long as you're alive. So education is a big deal, not just for me, but I'm interested in seeing that the young people get a good education to be able to build the kind of society, the kind of country that we want, and to be able to develop the kind of economy that we want. Because the best plans you may have in terms of building an economy, you must have the wherewithal in terms of the human resources to ensure that you can enable that. And so I want to say that I am very impressed with the United Workers' Party, that they have been able to come up with a slate of such impressive candidates, and included among them new candidates who I'm sure will do justice to the service that is expected of them. And I just want to mention the last new candidate that was presented. He has not been officially presented, but there was this Flabo Live meeting that takes place on a Sunday. The fact that it took place in Castries North last Sunday, he was presented as the prospective candidate for Castries North. Like I said, it has not been officially announced, but the cat has been out of the bag, so I have the liberty to say it. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Stephen Favrier, who will be doing a battle in the Castries North constituency against Stevenson King. And this guy comes, with, highly qualified for the position. And when I talk about qualification, I'm not talking solely of academic certification, though he has that. I think when I, engage the gentleman, listen to him, he understands that it is about service, and he has come with the right temperament, the right attitude to serve. And of course, he has the experience, having served in the international arena, working with the WTO for quite a number of years in Geneva. He is bringing back a wealth of experience, which I think he can lend to a United Workers' Party government to make a big difference for the people of St. Lucia. So I want to say that, he has my full endorsement, and I wish him all the best. And if you ask me, the current representative, Stevenson King, pales in comparison to him, and that is why he's Stephen and King is Stephen's son. Stevenson, in terms of comparison, is like a son of Stephen. So, he cannot stand head and shoulder with Stephen. And let's be honest, Stevenson King has made his contribution, but I think he is now passé. His time has gone. I don't think he has anything more or much left to offer. And when you look at his performance, even his ministerial performance now, you can tell that the guy is tired. So let's do him a favor, put the guy to rest, send him to pasture, let him reminisce on his days, and, reflect that he had good days. Before it gets any worse, let us put a young man who has the vitality, who has the ability, who is competent, and who has experience, coming in with experience. And that is what we're looking for in the United Workers' Party. And so, my guest who is here today, he has to tell me what he brings, because in his case, I don't want to make promises. You have had a chance to serve. When you served, what was your performance? And that's that's the main thing I go by, Andre. And if you're new, then I can't talk about performance. You haven't had a chance to perform, so let me hear your plans. But if you have had an opportunity to serve, what did you do with that opportunity for you to come and ask me for another opportunity? And that's what I'll be doing today. Of course, we know our callers, Andre, they will, of course, be asking him those kinds of questions as well. And so I'm hoping that he is prepared to answer those questions. But I just want to say that, when I look at the United Workers' Party, Andre played a song leading up to the program, Better Than Them. While the folks of the St. Lucia Labour Party, those in government for sure, are living better than us. But when you compare the team that we have, the record of performance that we have, certainly United Workers' Party is better than them. And that is why I will urge you, when the time comes, whenever the time comes, that you would be doing the right thing to cast your vote for the United Workers' Party. And for this election, I've heard some say that this is the most impactful, most important election in our recent history. It certainly is. And this time around, it is not about party allegiance or loyalty. It is about the future of our country. And so whether you're independent, whether you're patriot, whether you're Labour, whether you're UWP, you will be voting for the United Workers' Party. Even if you still want to call yourself Labour, Flabo, independent or whatever, but you'll be voting for the UWP not because of the party, but because of our future and the future of our country. And that's the way I think it has to go. Now, talking about that, I just want to say to our listeners...
Sorry, can I just disturb you
go right ahead.
For a second? Yes.
Go right.
Okay, good.
Like a guy said to me once when I had a little discussion with him at the bar, when he started to interrupt me, I said, man, hold on. He said, man, you're not in Parliament, so go right ahead, Andre.
Okay. When I try to decide on a topic or subject for one of my shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah.
I ask myself, if I choose this particular topic, will people like this topic? Will they call in? Or do I choose something else? And I find myself going back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm juxtaposing that against the candidate process in any party. Do you all have that struggle as well? Is this the right person? Is it not the right person? How do we know that this? Because a lot hangs on making that right choice, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm close enough to the process to be able to answer you, Andre. In this round of candidate selection, it was particularly difficult, and I'll tell you why. And if you make an assessment, you realize almost every constituency, we had quite a number of people who wanted to become candidates. In some cases, there were up to 5. In one case, I think 7 people who wanted. Now, first of all, Andre, how you decide of the 7? These are all people of your party, people. And when I look at them, all capable and competent people, how do you determine which one is the best person? So there's a lot that, we have to go through to determine who is the best. And of course, we are human, so we're hoping we get it right in the end. But the process entails, first of all, at the constituency branch level, they have to decide, okay, let's say there are 3 people, they're only going to nominate 2 to the party or just 1. But in some cases, they had their problems, so they nominated all. But they interview the people and so on, and they would give you an indication of who they think has the edge and so on. Then the party goes through its own process. Now, quite apart from the interviews and all of that, the party has also engaged in polling. So they carry out surveys to find out, okay, how does Spider fare against Andre and all those things? Because you see, you might have your own personal opinion, but what is the opinion of the folks out there? So all of those things combined will help you make a decision. Because at times, Andre, you may be more academically qualified than I am. And I can even put it this way, you may be better government material than I am in terms of holding a ministry or so. But you may not be able to win a constituency, a seat before me. Now, that's something you have to weigh and balance. At the end of the day, for you to serve in that ministry that you're so well equipped for, we have to form the government. So all of those things come into play, all of those things come into question. At the end of the day, too, you have to understand if you are serious, I am serious. We are contending out there, and politics, let's be real, even internally, it's an antagonistic kind of engagement. And so I'm going out there saying I'm better than you are, Andre. You're going out there saying you're better. Hopefully, the fact that we are of the same party, you don't go too dirty, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say I'm better than you are, and so on. So these things bring about little tensions. You're going to have people who become loyal to you and have strong allegiances to you, so will I. And when you do not make it, first of all, we're hoping that you're mature enough to take a moment. Okay, you'll be disappointed, I understand, especially if you're serious about wanting to do it, and that you would heal in time and understand that we are a team, in the very same way you would have wanted me to support you had you won, and that you come on board and we combine forces. The other aspect of it is for you now to get your supporters to come around and join you in supporting the other person. So it's a little ticklish and complicated, if you ask me. But I think the United Workers' Party has done a good job. I mean, there's no secret that in the case of ancillary canneries, we have one of our prospective candidates at the end of the process who cried foul and is now looking to run as an independent. But I hope people will see beyond and through that and understand that, look, there was a process. If you had succeeded, there would be nothing wrong with the process. The fact that you didn't succeed, let's not complain. And if you felt the process was flawed, You should not have participated in it. And so that's just my simple position on the matter. But at the end of the day, we know that, very often, especially independent candidates, genuinely independent candidates, do not make an impact. And so, in a sense, people will tell you that they're wasting their vote if they vote for you as an independent. Now, I heard the Prime Minister say not too long ago that, he has high regard for Richard Frederick and Stephenson King because not anybody who can win a seat as independent. Well, let me say to you, in the true sense of independent candidacy, Richard has never won a seat as an independent. King did not win a seat as an independent. If you're independent, Andre, you go up against the UWP candidate and the Labour candidate, and let me see you win. Okay? Because we know we have a two-party system here where we have a base that is UWP, a base that is Labour. And if you come as an independent, you may have the qualities and so on, but you have an uphill task to end up winning a seat. Now, when Richard Frederick ran in 2005 and won, I'm telling you it's because the United Workers' Party did not fill in a candidate. And the Castries Central UWP constituency branch rallied behind Richard Frederick. So he won. So in effect, he got the UWP votes.
So why didn't you fill a candidate at the time? Is that a deliberate strategy?
It was a deliberate strategy. Yeah. And so John at the time was the leader. And, I remember the words that he used. He said he's not going to waste his resources on Bat and Popot. He is waiting for the guanos. And so at the time, it was just months ahead of the elections. And so he felt, he wouldn't engage. But Richard went in. The branch supported him. In 2021, Richard contested the Castries Central seat after making a deal with the St. Lucia Labour Party. And I said so before the elections. People were wondering what I was talking about. Everybody has seen it now. After making a deal with the St. Lucia Labour Party, who did not fill in a candidate, and their branch and their supporters rallied behind Richard Frederick. So again, he had the benefit of the main parties on both occasions. Stephenson King, as well, made a deal with the St. Lucia Labour Party so that they did not fill in a candidate in Castries North, and he got the support of the Labour Party supporters. Now, and of course, they were prompted to support Stephenson King, even if he was denying that he is with Labour and that he's independent. But the denial came because he has personal support. But by and large, a lot of that personal support hinges on the fact that he was UWP. And he misled those people into continuing to support him as an independent because, okay, even if he's no longer UWP, they have grown some allegiance and loyalty to him. They would continue to support him. But there are some of those people who would never vote for SLP, only to end up, in effect, technically, they voted for SLP because as soon as the election was over, Richard and Stephenson King showed their true colors. They joined the St. Lucia Labour Party. And you would remember, and I heard it on Newspin just earlier this week, you would remember that in the run-up to the election, while King was still denying any allegiance with Labour, the current Prime Minister was the leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, said in Moshi at a public meeting that they have wooed over 3 former leaders of the United Workers' Party, and he mentioned Dr. Von Lewis, he mentioned Dr. Morella Joseph, and he said Stephenson King is now with us. So that, but you see now, these are the things people have to look at. You do not deceive people in a serious matter such as this, where people have to make major, serious decisions. You do not mislead people by giving them false information. And I can safely say that both Stephenson King, Richard Frederick, and including Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre as well, deceived the populace by not coming out straight and laying the cards on the table. Now those underhand deals and so on, we have to be very careful about. Because I said before the elections, and it could have very well been, if there was a tight race with those two guys having affiliation to the St. Lucia Labour Party, who would have become Prime Minister? Now, that means that the balance of power would be hanging Stephenson King in the fray, a former Prime Minister, Richard Frederick, a very ambitious individual, in a fray. Do you realize that would have created a possibility for Richard Frederick to be our Prime Minister? Now, I wonder how that sounds to the rest of St. Lucia. I know how it sounds to me. I wonder how that sounds to the rest of St. Lucia. If Dr. Kenny and Denny think Richard's entry into politics was frightening, I ask him to consider that possibility, And these are the things, we have to be mindful of. And I think the other thing for me is that when things like that happen, I think it is a reflection of the individual's character. It says something about their integrity, because you don't fool people, or you don't mislead people, you don't deceive people in that manner, and that is what was done. However, the public, the voting population, the electorate has an opportunity to make that right in this upcoming general election, because they cannot be fooled twice. They already know what the deal is. And so I expect that those who deceive the people then, like I always said, like I always quote Bob Marley, you can fool the people sometimes, but you cannot fool other people all of the time. So this time around, I think the people will make it right and settle that score with those individuals who misled them, Now talking about electing a government and, and so on, we last time spoke about what it takes to be a politician and so on, and I was speaking about Stephen Favre in terms of a man I see who has what it takes to be a good parliamentary rep and to serve effectively as a minister of government. I think too that, the issue of character, the issue of integrity, not just competence, all of those things come into play. And so you have to scrutinize and assess an individual. Because when we, for example, look at you, Andre, and I say, well, boy, Andre is driving an old Samurai like what I came here with this morning. After a couple of years in office, he has a Lamborghini. Okay, you say, all right, the salary is good enough for that. But then Andre has mansions here, condos there, and so on. Now, Andre, it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. Could be all of a sudden your parents finally pass it on to you, or you won a lottery, or Herod, who is a rich man, a multimillionaire, likes you and just gives you a raise, or you started working or you open a business and so on. There are many possibilities that exist. The point is, Andre, right now, I always say that you, Andre, can tell me, go to hell if I come and ask you. That's your personal business. Herod Stanislas cannot say that to me. He has offered himself for public office, and it is our business to scrutinize him, to assess him, and to know what is going on with him. This is a man who will have his hands within reach, within distance of our treasury. Okay? So, in terms of spending our money, presiding over administering projects and all of that for government, we want to be sure that there's no corruption, that he's not engaging in bribe or anything like that. So, Herod, I see you wearing nice clothes these days. How you got it? He may feel I'm out of place. I'm not. Because let me just say something to you. Do you know that our constitution prescribes who can be an elected official? One of the restrictions is that the constitution says that if you are declared bankrupt, you cannot be a candidate for election, let alone to be. Now, you ask yourself why, Andre? Now, it's not everybody who's broke, it's not everybody who's bankrupt, who's dishonest. There are people with nothing, and you'll put the world in front of them and they will not touch it. But do you accept, Andre, that the temptation is a lot higher? But, Andre, if I come with my belly full and you walk out and leave your piece of steak there and so on, I don't even look at it. But if my belly boiling there, I have not eaten anything for the day, man, I'm looking to see how far you are, and chances are, the temptation is greater. And so the state has determined that it is of interest to us to know where you stand financially. Now, if you come in, you're not a bankrupt, you come in, but all of a sudden you have accumulated enormous wealth. And I'm sure both you and Aaron know where I'm going with this. There are questions being asked about one of the candidates, the candidate for the constituency I'm from, Grosily. And he is refusing to come out and to set the records straight and just declare what the situation is and put the matter to rest. The man is getting on with all kinds of things about little black boy, if my hair was straight, and all kind of racial things that does not belong to the discussion. That is not the subject. The subject is, we notice astonishingly that in the last 3.5 years, you have accumulated enormous wealth. He was here last Friday, Andre, and you saw how he got on when the question was asked. You know, and it's getting all emotional and things. Andre, you don't need any emotion to settle that matter, you know, Andre. If you ask me where I got my old samurai from, Andre, I can tell you straight off the bat how I got it from. They asked me at one time, and it was Herod Stanislas' opponent, who was then my opponent in Grosley, came on a platform and talked about our farm in Sarat, which I do, and wanted to know how I got my farm. And I made it clear. I actually sent a note to the Teachers Credit Union to say, if the media wishes to find out information, please feel free to divulge the information to them. Now, I said the media because if I go and I come with it, you'll say, well, that's fraud. But if Andre Paul goes as a media worker and he comes and he publishes, people will have more trust in that. So I'm saying to you, you owe it to the public to answer those questions. And, in the States, Andre, your health, your wealth, everything has to be put on the table, Now, here.
But where does the Integrity Commission come into all of this?
Well, that's the problem. You see, I do not want to cast aspersions on anyone, but you see, we have a system we call a democratic system, and we say, the Integrity Commission, the Public Service Commission, this other commission is independent.
Does it exist?
It does exist now. It didn't always exist. For the last year, it didn't exist. But against the law, by the way, the law stipulates that there must be an Integrity Commission.
The last 3 years.
Right. So, Andre, you're supposed to be independent, right? But who appoints you? I appoint you. The fear I have is that I will be very selective as to who I appoint. So, Andre, I suspect you're the kind of fellow that will not want to do everything I tell you. You're not a yes man. You will not be appointed. That is the fear I have. So how do we know that these bodies are truly independent? But we hope. We depend on people's integrity to say, well, okay, yes, it is this government that appointed you, but you have to act above board, you have to be impartial, and you have to perform your duty. Part of the duty of the Integrity Commission is to publish the fact that you have not declared your assets and liabilities if you do not declare it, because upon assuming office, you have to declare it. And if you do not declare it, they have to pass on that information to the DPP, if in the case of politicians, and to the Public Service Commission in the case of high-ranking public servants. Now, the question is, did all of the current MPs submit their declaration? In the case of Kenson Kazimi, who's under scrutiny right now, and the thing about it is nobody has said he has done anything illegal or untoward. It is suspicion. People are wondering how he came about all of that wealth. It is his responsibility, it is his duty bound to clear the air on that matter. Now, the Integrity Commission would have information as to what his financial standing is. Now, it will be interesting to note whether the Integrity Commission has information on all of those assets that he has accumulated of late. Because if he has accumulated that, he would have had to declare all his sources of income, and the Integrity Commission would not be made of individuals or idiots. They would be able to just take a cursory look at the information there and tell whether there is something fishy. And if they think there is something fishy, for an investigation to be launched. Now, you also have a special prosecutor. These are the matters you would expect a special prosecutor to investigate. But the special prosecutor has said, matters have to be brought to his attention. I'm saying it's a small country, a 2x4 place where everybody knows what is what. So even if you do not tell me that, okay, Andre is only earning $500 a month, that he can't buy a BMW. So, the public doesn't have to tell me that. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have a plausible answer for me, but it is incumbent on me to investigate. And that's all we're asking Kenson to do. Come out and declare. All the ranting and the raving that he did on the show here last Friday did not answer the questions. And we did not want to know how good he is in theatrics, how dramatic he could be, how emotional he could be. We do not want to know that. What we want to know is, how did you come by the sudden accumulation of all that wealth?
By the way, he did explain.
He did explain.
But I guess not to your satisfaction.
Was it to your satisfaction, Andre?
Well, that was not for me to decide.
Andre, I can tell you right now, I have several sources of income. I have my farm, I have my guest house, I have my bar, and so on. But for that statement to make sense, I have to tell you, how much do I make on my farm? Because, I could be incurring a loss on my farm. I could be incurring a loss at my bar. So, and that will still make me have all those assets. That is the point. So
he spoke about his salary in addition to the.
I have a question to ask you.
Right. He spoke about his salary, and he said any young man making $10,000 a month, if he doesn't own a home, he's a fool. Basically, it was to that effect. So, from your experience as a minister / MP, etc., is that a plausible explanation? $10,000 a month, a young man.
Let me just say something to you. Okay, first of all, let me just say I came into politics. Before I came into politics, I had two houses. Okay. So, but I agree that if you are earning $10,000 or more, he said you'll be a fool if you don't purchase property. That is not the question. No one is saying he should not. Now that's the thing. They're deflecting and diverting from the real issue. Nobody is saying he should not or any politician should not. We are saying, how did you come by all of that? Andre, you are working. You can have a car. But you have a BMW, a Lamborghini, a Lexus, a Mercedes-Benz and so on. Andre, really, can your job afford that? That is the question. Okay? Now, Andre, he said, what I heard him say on the show here is that he had a job with the ministry as a sports officer, which I have an idea what the salary is. He had on an online thing. He should have told us how much money he was making there. And he was a sportscaster with HTS, DBS, and NBC at different points, right? Andre, I never realized you all were making so much money, Andre. You're holding out on me. You're holding out on me, Andre. Now, you know what I said, Andre? Sorry to say that, but you know how our minds work. I said, boy, if the man was coming in for a half-hour sports program, which is more or less part-time, and he was making all that money, an experienced anchorman like Andre, I can only imagine how much money she was making. So if that can explain it, fine, come out and tell us. You see, because if I'm challenged in that way, Andre, I'll just put the matter to rest and let you realize, well, look, there's nothing. So let me ask you,
can the United Workers' Party put some pressure on the Integrity Commission to get that information?
Well, we can, but will they respond? That's the problem. I'm saying, because they are independent, they're not beholden to the United Workers' Party. However,
but isn't that their responsibility?
It is their responsibility. But if they choose to renege on their responsibility,
and they can,
that is where in a democracy the people come in. And if the people are asking the question, the official is not answering the question, the institutions that are in place are not doing anything about having the question answered, then the people will have to deal with the matter. And very soon, Andre, the people will have the handle in their hands. That is at the polls.
So let me ask you another question. How does the party know, how do you know, all these assets that Kenson allegedly owns? How do we know that these are his properties?
First of all, Andre, these are 2x4 country. And as much as we want to pretend that, Andre, I will take an oath of confidentiality and whatever. By the time I go out there, I'm hearing the information that's supposed to be confidential. Once there are more than two people involved in anything, it's hardly a secret. Now, when you purchase property, one, you purchase it from someone. That person is associated with other people. There is evidence in the Red Land Registry that is available and open to any and everyone. So you can go and find out how many properties I have, Andre. You understand what I'm saying? You'll even see those who have mortgages and loans by, because the back of the form will say, that's bank of place and whatever. So it's easy information to find out. That's why I find it so stupid of public officials to think. Andre, when they asked me the question, I quickly declared, even if I said to the media, when you go there and you see all the information, keep some of it to yourself. Just tell them he in fact got a loan from the credit union. Don't tell them, or at the time, it was the St. Lucia Development Bank. Don't tell them how many months I owe or anything like that. But the point is, you have to satisfy the public, Andre. You have to satisfy the public that you did not acquire what you have by ill-gotten means, illegal means rather, and that is what we are asking him to do. And Andre, it's not just for him. Herod might think that has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with him. Even I, who's no longer in elective politics, has everything to do with me. Because Andre, the rest of you all, I put you in that. Look at us. Not in the brightest of lights, A politician is seen as a corrupt, lying, deceiving, conniving person, generally speaking. That's the general view of a politician. We as politicians are very much responsible for perpetuating that image of a politician. And I'll tell you why I say so. One, especially politicians of the St. Lucia Labour Party, accuse politicians of the other side of all kinds of things under the sun without a shred of evidence, without any proof. Or when they say it and they're in a position to prove it, they do not prove it. Like now they're in government. You'd have thought the special prosecutor would have guy by the balls already. That Alan Chasney would be in prison already. That Spider Montoot, who kidnapped a guy and so on, would be in jail by now. Because these are things they said on their platform and they said in public fora. And so you don't just go around casting aspersions, making allegations. Now I've heard the UWP do that as well. So the UWP said there's corruption in the CIP and so on. Now, I personally, I didn't say it publicly, but I have access to the UWP politicians. I say, look man, y'all can't just be doing the same thing that those guys are doing. Just casting aspersions, and if you have no evidence, well, they showed me contracts. They brought the matter to court. Now, how more serious can you be, Andre, if you bring a matter to the courts? The court don't entertain fun and games. The court don't, for that matter, the court take umbrage to you wasting the time, So if they take it, that means they're serious about it. Now, whether they can prove it or not is a different thing.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying politicians themselves, at least those in St. Lucia, are the ones who are contributing to the problem greatly. Of making the public feel as though politicians are corrupt.
That's right.
By the comments they make.
The allegations, especially the unfounded, unsubstantiated false allegation, and Labour Party is chiefly responsible for that. Okay? And you see they complain about name calling now. They invented name calling in St. Lucia. Okay? Don't let me start, because I'll start with Tushusu. Okay? And go down the line for you. Now, let me just say this. The other reason why I say politicians are responsible, Herod is here with his nice hat and his, brand name shirt and all of that. Because Herod, to me, the salary you get in, because just simply tell me, I have a brother in the United States who bought that on sale and sent it to me. Simple. I can verify, call the brother say, yeah, I sent a shirt. Closed case. Now, that's not the best example, but I'm just saying, closed case. Come out and make a declaration. Settle the matter. You must be accountable to the people. You must be transparent with the people. That is what is required. Now, when he doesn't do that, maybe sometimes the man has still nobody money, embezzle, and get no bribe or anything, But he will not answer the question, what am I to do? Not speculate? You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying he would then be partly responsible for the negative image that we have. Now, Kenson can simply come out and show, look, politicians can serve, can accumulate wealth without engaging in anything that's untoward. Don't tell me you did not engage in it. Prove to me that you did not. Because there's nothing you have that you did not know how you came by having it. So, unfortunately, Andre, it's not the most comfortable thing to do. I mean, the money I don't have in the bank, I'm not comfortable coming and tell you about it. Remember I said the money I don't have. But as a public figure, I owe it. That's why I have to declare that to the Integrity Commission. You understand what I'm saying? And so it is incumbent upon him to say, well, okay, I had so-and-so before I came into politics, that's how I got it. I have acquired so-and-so since I'm in politics, that's how I've gotten it. Because you see, he comes, can a young man take a loan? That is not the issue, Andre. Every young man who is earning a salary, have income, have resources, can take a loan and is entitled to take a loan. That is not the argument. The argument is, Andre, on the one job that you have, you're able to take a loan to the tune of millions, you're able to take several loans and so on. How come? Because the bank will not give you loans that you cannot repay.
Mm-hmm.
So, explain to us. And if, Andre, you go into, well, I don't know who sells, you go to Mario Rez and you just buy a BMW cash, really. I'm not saying you're not a miser and I've been saving your money for the last 20 years. Maybe that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
But you understand why it will raise eyebrows. So come out and say, since 19, how long I saving my money? And it reached the amount I bought it. And of course there's a thrill because I can go to the bank and see, boy, Andre had been depositing a good quas every month and so on. Clear the air. If this guy still does not understand what is being asked of him, I am explaining it and breaking it down to him. We're not asking you how good you are in theatrics. We're not asking you how dramatic you can be. We're not asking you how emotional you all that rhetoric and all that excitement is not warranted. Answer the question. You see? So did I vote. So what are you trying to say? As a young man, if I'm in politics for the next 20 years, I'm not supposed to... Nobody is saying that. You introducing that. Nobody is saying that. So, Andre, I don't know if they're on tomorrow being Good Friday.
No.
But next Friday they're going to be on. The question still stands. And I, Leonard Spider Montut, as a citizen of this country, as a constituent of Grosley, I am asking Kenson Kazimi the question. How did you come by all the wealth that you have suddenly accumulated? I want to know, for the sake of the country, because to know that our resources is not tangled up in that. For the sake of the image of politicians, I haven't been one. Okay? And for your own sake, Kenson, clear the air and tell us. And if you have nothing to hide, open the book.
By the way, you said a while ago, you said millions, plural. Is that an exaggeration?
No, the assets he has would amount to millions by now. Mm-hmm. He has a property, and he made the point, it's not Cap Estate, it's Bellevue. Bellevue is just bordering Cap Estate, okay? I mean, I can tell you about this area, I know. Let me just say something to you. The value of property in Bellevue, Cap Estate, Bonte, Casaba, Rodney Bay, even Beausejour now, okay, is exorbitant. You're talking about prime property. Now, he bought a piece of land there for over $270,000. That's over $250,000, Andre. Okay? You bought a Ford Hilux. That's about $200,000 even with concessions. That's in the last 3.5 years, you know. The property that you paid $270,000 for, over $270,000 for, you're building 5 condos. Andre, I'm trying to finish. I have the structure, the shell was there, just to partition the structure, build some rooms and so on. Andre, I budgeted $70,000 for that. It has gone past twice that already because of the cost of material nowadays. And I must say to you all St. Lucian workers, skilled workers, you all know money these days. I must say that, you know. Andre, it is costly to do those things. All right? Now, he had a home prior to getting into politics. I mean, he's building beneath the home, you know, expanding and all of that kind of thing. Other properties, it is said that he has purchased. Come and clear the air on that. Now, the man could have won the pools or the lottery and not say anything. But he has to say something. If you, Andre, can keep it a secret, that's your business. But you have to declare. And the reason why the Integrity Commission is there for you to declare your assets and liabilities, because you have to be monitored, Andre. You have to be monitored. And so, Andre, if I'm running this radio station and I'm the one collecting ads and things, so all of a sudden, you're not doing any better, but you see me doing very well. you're going to raise eyebrows, you're going to ask questions. I have to come and prove to you that, look, it's only 10 ads we got and here's the money for it and so on. I have to do that. That is what accountability is about. So don't get all flustered and, bent out of shape because people are asking you questions. Andre, we all knew. Andre, if you decide to get into politics now, you don't know what you're getting into. You understand what I'm saying? That goes with the game. And what surprises me is that the very Kenson was asking questions of me, Andre. And I keep repeating it. He asked how I was driving a Lexus. Again, in my private life, if you ever ask me that, I'll tell him where to go, Andre. But as a public figure, a public official, I owed it to answer. Despite how grudgingly I had to answer. So I said to him, I took a loan with the Teachers Credit Union and I got a concession from the government. That is how I came by having. So while he was talking, I was still paying my loan on it. Now, that is a reasonable answer, shed light. But if I had 10 more Lexus, right? But you can get a loan on that salary for another 10 Lexus? Explain that. You understand? So these guys believe they can fool people. They take people for idiots and they think, well, they can, dodge the issues by getting on and no, I'm not going to be sidetracked by that. I'm still waiting for the answer. And you see what he did? Talk about I'm like I was projecting what I do on him, and he didn't mention my name, but I'm sure you sat there, Andre, and you know exactly who he was talking about. So for 10 years, and what they did was buy property in other people's names, and when they got out of office, they're thinking, now I don't owe anybody an explanation because I'm out of office. But the fact that I still think within myself that I should explain that, because I don't want you and Herod to believe that when I was there, that's what I did. So I had to clarify, I had to clear the air, that in fact the property he's referring to, because don't think he don't have information on me just like I have on him, Andre. Because these guys, they have investigated me. They probably investigated me more than they investigate fellows like Herod and them, because I am out there and I'm saying what I have to say. You understand? And they would love to be able to silence me, to shut me up. But, I speak boldly and I speak confidently, because I know you can open my book, Andre. You can go ahead and open it. All you can end up doing probably is give me jokes and say, that's all. You know something? But you cannot accuse me. That's the thing. And that's what I'm proud of. And so I had to explain, and I'm going to do it again here on this program, that the property he's referring to was bought at a public auction by my son, who won the bid. And my wife and I, since we converted our home to a guest house, we built a new home on that property. And so he transferred the property into our names. Okay? Because, Andre, for us to get... I don't have to go into those details. The point is he transferred it into our names. And so that happened after I demitted office. Okay? And I'm not saying if it happened before I demitted office, there's anything wrong with it. And you can find out how I went about building a house too, Andre. Okay? Never mind the little gratuity that I got that went up in smoke. I didn't even see where it passed. Before I bought 2 posts, it was finished, and so on. I declared that I have a loan with Fix. And I hope they don't take offense. It's not their business I'm sending people to ask them. It's my business. You can go to Mrs. Sultan, who is a manager at Fix. She's the lady that I dealt with. Or better yet, Andre, you can ask Lon Theophilus. He is the chairman of Fix. And I'm saying here now, and if you need, as a media person, Andre, if you want written authorization from me to go and get the information, I can give it to you. That's how open I'm prepared to be. And don't forget, you're voting for me, Andre. I ain't politics. I ain't politics. So, the people that we're voting for, they don't owe it to us. They do. And to a certain extent, I owe it to the people more than you do, Andre, because you never asked anybody to vote for you. But people once voted for me. I once held public office. So that is why I'm going through that. And I'm just giving Kenson an example of what you do when these things are declared. And if you want more details, you say, well, it still don't make sense, I will clarify. But for now, I'm not the one under scrutiny. Kenson, you are. Your wealth is suspicious to many. Clearly, put it to rest. Account to us. Let us know that you have done nothing illegal. Everything is above board. So I've said a lot about that so far, Andre. I just thought I'll deal with that. And Andre, when you meet in the opposition, Andre, I hope you have some questions for Herod today as well. Knowing you do, your callers too, and so on. But Andre, please advise your other talk show people that we want an opportunity to actually meet the ministers.
Just stop by.
Just stop by. Because, I'm seeing the minister, I'm hearing the minister, but I'm not meeting the minister. Because I would have called in to ask questions, because I suspected that Kenson missed the question. I would have called in to ask him the direct question. I didn't get that opportunity. Now, Andre, you or your callers, not being satisfied with what I said, can call in today and ask me, That's how you meet the opposition. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that game that is being played there, would meet the minister and Fenelon come in there, if all them kind of cooked up thing, answering more questions than the individual himself and all that kind of thing. Tell him that charade. And that's not going to work. Good try, good PR stunt, but it's not going to work. The questions that have to be answered will be answered, because Fenelon will not ask a question. And if you think because I'm not pretending I'm not biased, Andre, I'm a diehard flamboy, So if you think, because of that, I will not ask Herod the question, ask him. You understand what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, we are in a dire strait. We are in a bad situation now. The Labour Party, I was told, and that I'm saying hearsay, have sent some of their people to Venezuela for training in politicking. Now, if that is so, Andre, that is concerning. Because the tactics that are being employed in Venezuela, I hope it never makes its way to St. Lucia. Because, it's a one-party state, in effect, that they have in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. And I'm not getting involved in their internal affairs as a sovereign state and so on. But certainly that's not what I want here. And I do not want to know that the results of any election is predetermined even before I vote. You understand what I'm saying? I want to know that it is the will of the people that will prevail, whether it is in favor of my party or against my party. So let us watch and see, because I see a lot of irregularities taking place already, because, Andre, I'm very keen on observing what happened. Things I didn't do when I was a candidate that I should have done, I'm doing it now for the candidates that are there, in terms of watching the voters list. And we are seeing irregularities taking place. But while that is happening, let me just say, it is illegal. Now, Andre, if they come to you, and they know where you're voting, and they tell you they're going to register you in Grosley because you need a few more votes in Grosley, Andre, be careful, Andre. Because when I detect your name, you are the one who's going to have to answer, and I hope they'll stand your bill. You understand what I'm saying? Because you would be doing something illegal. So I'm just warning the people who are going along with that they be careful, because they are under close scrutiny. And of course, I'm hoping that the CIP citizens will not make their way onto the voters list, that all of a sudden we see Andreas Paul with, different eyes to us, and so on. Because the thing about it is, if he come as Ching Chong, right away to ring a bell, we'll observe who is that, whatever. And any Chinese person, there are not so many of them that they're in Gross. I would know who he is, and so on. But if we can't place him, we can't find him, and so on, we know something is wrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, I'm looking at all the possibilities. I put nothing past the St. Lucia Labour Party. And so I'm just announcing to them there right now that we are watching very closely. And so I just want to talk about what time is it now?
Yes, already after 10.
After 10. So it's time I bring in my guest.
I think so. So especially if you plan to take calls.
To take calls, yes. So, good morning to you, Mr. Herod Stanislas.
Good morning, Spider, and good morning, Andre.
Morning, Mr. Stanislas. Welcome.
Good morning, our listeners. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the program this morning, Spider.
And I have brought you here, not just as a friend, not just as Herod Stanislas, but as the endorsed United Workers' Party candidate for the constituency of Soufrière-Fonsaint-Jacques. You have been a representative for that constituency in the last term in government. You were the representative, and now you are seeking to regain your place as the parliamentary representative to unseat Emma Hippolyte. But you were there, you lost the election, but you're contesting again to become the parliamentary representative. Why?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Spider. It was really an honor and a privilege to have served as parliamentary representative for the people of Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques between 2016 and 2021. It was a calling which I took very seriously. I served the people of Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques to the best of my abilities, and I believe we had a Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques which was on an upward trajectory during my tenure as parliamentary representative. When I campaigned in 2016 to become the parliamentary representative, I campaigned on a vision of empowering the people of Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques through sound socio-economic policies and human resource development programs, so that they would become financially independent and economically sustainable. And I believed Soufrière was a transformative constituency, a progressive constituency. Many persons saw that. After my 5 years of representation, bearing in mind we had 2 years of COVID impacting the island and, of course, all constituencies. However, Spider, the past 4 years have been very, very depressing. I have heard the calls and the cries of the people of Soufrière, the frustration, the hopelessness, the anger, the regrets of the people of Soufrière. And it is for that reason that I am presenting myself again to the people of Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques on the vision which I laid out for them in 2016. Of course, with added initiatives and programs and policies, so that the people of Soufrière can again become financially independent and economically sustainable, and do not depend on parliamentary representatives for handouts almost on a daily, weekly basis, but rather to fend for themselves, to fish for themselves, so that they can have a voice of their own, they can stand on their 2 feet and be progressive, be independent.
Okay, Harold, I hear you. Well said. Now, as once a politician, so I can tell you, you sound very good, very impressive. However, I'm no longer a politician, so I think more like Andre and those fellas now. That is talk. Okay? And that's what I'm going to say. That's talk. That's rhetoric. I want you now. All what you've said there, that sounded so good. Where's the evidence of it? What did you actually do to make a difference in Soufrière? I want to be able to go and try to tell me, look, I put up this mic, I put up this thing. What is the evidence that substantiates what you just said there?
Yeah. Again, very good question, Spider, Andre.
In fact, let me add a little more pressure. Right? A little more pressure. When the incumbent was challenging you, right, for the seat, she made the same comments. All what you said there, right. The people are complaining about this and that and the other, right? That's what they were complaining about. And here you are now saying the same thing, and they're complaining about the same things right now.
In other words, Harold, we don't fall for talk.
Exactly.
Well, it's glaring, Andre, that we've had failed representation in Soufrière for the past 4 years. We've had incompetence, neglect, and this is why the people have called your humble servant back to the forefront of representation. Spider, I'm presenting myself this time around as well on...
Let me interrupt you. You were there. You presented yourself again. The first time I would accept all the nice talk, the promises and everything. Right. This time I'm asking you, what did you do when
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
But I'm saying I am contesting, I'm running on a track record of performance.
Okay.
This is my record on performance, and in your own words, I always remember you saying to the people, compare and contrast.
That's right.
So it is going to be up to the people of Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques to compare and contrast what was there before and what currently exists. But Spider, I was able to accomplish, of course, through the efforts and the collaboration of many persons, my team, certain agencies, government departments, and so on, to achieve quite a lot in Soufrière. And if you go around Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques today, throughout the length and breadth of the constituency, you will see the mark of Harold Stanislas, his performance, his deliverables in Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques.
Okay.
And one of the projects which is very dear to me was that of the Soufre Mini Stadium, the redevelopment of the Soufre Mini Stadium. And you were there, Spider, in cabinet, in government at the time, where we as a government, we had a vision for youth and sports development. And we said that we have so much talent in St. Lucia, so much talent in athletics, in football, in cricket, basketball, and so on. But to harness all that talent, to give the young people opportunities to compete regionally, internationally, to become a world-class athletes of St. Lucia, we needed to do major upgrades of the sporting facilities. And hence the reason why we selected 5 constituencies to undergo the redevelopment of sporting facilities. Grozile, your constituency, was one with the sports academy. There was Denry, there was Mikud South, Deriso, and of course there was Soufre. What we did in Soufre was a total transformation of the Soufre Mini Stadium. It was supposed to be done in 3 phases. The first phase was to install a FIFA full-size football turf, artificial turf, at the mini stadium, and an IAAF 400-meter track on the mini stadium, as well as new lighting. We were also in the second phase. We were supposed to redo all the washrooms, redo the concession booths. We were supposed to have control room, VIP area. We were supposed to have new entrances for players, athletes, and spectators. Also in that second phase, we were going to put up a video board at the bottom of the facility. And I mean, you're a sports person, Spider, and that board was a Daxtronics video board, which was about 36 feet wide by about, I think, 24 feet in height. And then the third phase was at the bottom of the mini stadium to have a 75-meter Olympic-size 8-lane swimming pool for aquatics, for swimming, and then next to it would have been a multi-purpose court for netball and tennis, lawn tennis, and I think it was also for volleyball as well. We were able to accomplish the turf, the track, the lights. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and then, of course, we went into elections, and you know what the outcome was.
Okay. Very impressive. But before you leave sports, let me just say, I mean, like you said, I'm into sports, so I follow that keenly. What you talk about is very impressive, what you have done to the mini stadium. But in the sports that you mentioned cricket, and that's one of the sports that is practiced widely here. But how do you cater and account for cricket?
Right. I'm coming to that as well. I'm coming to all of that as well. So we were able to accomplish all of that, Spider. And with all of that going on and under constructions, installations, and so on, there was a lot of opposition from the Labour Party and, of course, my opponent back then, and, of course, the surrogates, with regards to what was being done there, with especially the turf, and the propaganda and the mischief, the malicious attacks, that it was cancerous and so on, and this was the worst thing to have happened to Soufre and Font Saint-Jacques, And in my wisdom, Spider, I did a lot of research on artificial turf and those rumors and concerns.
Yeah.
And I was able to discover that artificial turf is being used all over the world, throughout the US, throughout Europe, all over, and there is no such issue with the turf, and today the place, you hardly have sporting events on the facility except for the schools.
But I listen
schools
to the radio.
from all over the island.
I listen to the radio. I hear a lot of activities there.
There are more social activities taking place at the Soufre Mini Stadium compared to the sporting activities.
Who's organizing those activities on the facility?
Well,
because it certainly has nothing to do with government, because the government believes it gives cancer. So they will not bring people there to get cancer.
Well, they have a management committee. And I made a comment on the Sunday of the opening of my office, Spider. I'm coming to the cricket shortly. And where I said that the place is not maintained, the facility, the washrooms and so on, and the authorities are not doing what they're supposed to do for the proper maintenance of the facility. And when I say authorities are not maintaining the facility, I am referring to the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, as well as the Office of the Parliamentary Representative. Not the facilities manager. That has nothing to do with him, but the authorities as the Office of the District Rep and the Ministry of Sports. There's absolutely no maintenance of the facility. And this is a facility, when we return to government, we will have to spend a lot more money to repair, to rehabilitate, and to get it back to the standard it ought to be. Because if all the vehicles, Spider, driving all the heavy equipment and so on, driving over the track, there are places where the tracks have been
as a matter of
in
fact,
disrepair. The turf itself is in disrepair. It needs new sand, it needs new rubbers, it needs to be tilted over, and all of that.
As a matter of fact, Harold, I want to cut in there to say, well, you know, I was in track and field. By right, Andre, you're not even supposed to walk on the track with normal shoes. You know those shoes, leather shoes with church, what I call church shoes? You're not even supposed to walk on the track with those shoes, let alone drive a vehicle on the track, you know. So,
you have a lot of spots where you have vehicle oil and so on, and some of the events they're having there with persons with their grills and so on, frying and barbecuing, you know, the charcoal max and burned and so on. So there will be a lot of maintenance work to be done. And the vision I had for sports in Soufriere, Spider, was one where Soufriere would have become almost like a hub for sports in St. Lucia. And the vision was, we do what we do, we are going to do at the mini stadium. We did not forget or leave behind the cricketers. We went to acquire 8.01 acres of land at Ruby to build a cricket ground in Soufriere. We also went as far as clearing the 8 acres of land, prepared the car park area and so on. We had a concept in design done already. Again, we were hit with COVID, so a lot of those things were put on hold. Today, that cricket ground, instead of being prepared, cut, leveled, put the lights, put the sun, the seating and so on, for the cricket ground, it has become a dumping ground for step garbage when this current government is having the step program. Wow. Nothing has been done. So the vision, Spider, was on a given Saturday evening or any day during the week, you could have had a football tournament at the mini stadium or a track and field tournament at the bottom. At that same time, you could have had an aquatics tournament, a swimming race. At the same time, you could have had netball or lawn tennis or volleyball. So you could have had 3 different sports at the same time being played at the mini stadium. At the same time as well, you could have had a cricket tournament being played at the Ruby Cricket Ground. And at the same time, you could have had basketball at the basketball court next to the Soufriere Hospital. So all of that, Spider, would have helped young people to develop the talent, the skills, and get opportunities regionally, internationally in their various sporting disciplines. As you know, Spider, there are lots of opportunities and scholarships for further education. Look at Julian Alfred. Went to Jamaica, and from Jamaica she went to Texas, A&M. You know, we had about 3 or 4 Soufriere young persons through the Kick Foundation for football. They got opportunities to go to colleges in the US. There are lots of opportunities in swimming. So there are lots of opportunities in sports. And that was the vision, that was the idea, to upgrade those facilities to that kind of standard where our young persons would take advantage of those facilities. And also, Spider, without cutting you short, the other plan we had as a government was that the monies coming into the NLA would go into programs.
That's correct.
Okay? And today,
where is it going to now, Heron?
Nobody knows. It has vanished. $80 million.
800,000 is going every month towards paying for that $80 million loan. $80 million loan that we have got no explanation about as to how exactly it was spent, how much was spent at Darren Summit Stadium, how much was spent at Roseley, how much was spent at Mindo Philip Park. What else is being done with it, we do not know.
But I want to assure the people of Soufriere upon St. Jacques, Spider, that when I return as the parliamentary representative, which is going to be very, very soon, The second and third phases of the Soufrière Mini Stadium will be completed, and there is going to be proper management and utilization of the facility for the sporting development of the young people of Soufrière-Font-Saint-Jacques. The Ruby Cricket Ground will be completed for the cricketers of Soufrière-Font-Saint-Jacques.
So just a clarification. So you're saying that stadium, the vision that you had for it, or you still have for it, the current administration is not really, going down that road. Are they neglecting it? Is that what you're saying?
Very much so, Andre. They are misusing and abusing the facility, mainly for social events. There is no.
Or even like shows and so on.
Shows and all those things. Even in football right now in Soufrière, we don't even have a functioning football league in Soufrière. The St. Lucia Football Association had to intervene and put in place a normalization committee to manage football in Soufrière. That's to show you the clubs almost non-existent. We only have 2 or 3. We only have 2 or 3 clubs, active clubs. Black Panthers, Rising Stars, and Challengers. And there are so many other clubs. They are dormant. They are not been able to get themselves registered, certified by the SLFA, and so on. So, sports is almost dormant in Soufrière. There needs to be a revival of clubs and sporting activities and proper usage of the facility for that.
I heard the incumbent saying to you something about explain to the constituents where all the building materials were. Did you hear saying that? Was that effect?
And I gave a response to that. I also asked her, because she was deflecting a question, Andre, which I asked her about the contract which was given to a lady in Castries who does not even know the site, the location of where the works was being done, And I told her she could go all around Soufrière and see where the materials are. And I am not somebody who reproaches people when I do good for them, unlike her who's reproaching people, And up to now, she cannot answer the question I asked her about the contract, an $800,000 contract to do a culvert, a retaining wall, and a box drain. Who is the lady fronting this contract for? And nobody in the area was under the contract. Nobody in Soufrière was under the contract. So up to now, they cannot answer the question. But she is deflecting and asking about materials.
But Harold, you seem to have done quite a lot for youth and sports development. I'm very impressed with the plans that you have. When you become the parliamentary rep once again, what you're going to do for sports and so on. But outside of sports, was there any other
there were
achievements on your part?
Many other achievements, Spider. I remember when I campaigned in 2016, I campaigned on the new development roads. The Labour Party had been in government, in office in Soufrière for 20 years. And there was 10 years of Walter François and 10 years of Harold Dalsa. And they kept giving the people excuses in new development that the roads were in private hands and government had nothing to do with it. I campaigned on that. I told them, elect me, give me your support, and I will reconstruct the roads. I did so, Spider. I reconstructed approximately 60% of the roads and new development. And we are almost 4 years under the Labour Party. They have not laid down 1 inch of concrete on 1 foot of road in new development. I spoke to the people of Espérance of Font-Saint-Jacques. I told them, you elect me, you give me your support, I am going to reconstruct the Espérance Diamond Road. This is a road which was cut over 50 years ago. It was excavated, the road was done, but it was never paved. It was completely blocked. Nothing. 4-wheel drive vehicles could have only driven up to a point on the road. And this was a road, if anything happened on the other side, the main Font-Saint-Jacques, Soufrière-Font-Saint-Jacques Road, that was the other bypass to and from Soufrière. I don't know if you remember, Spider, during Hurricane Thomas, when the Font-Saint-Jacques area was cut off. This is the area where we had to pass, to drive through, up to a point, up to Montpellier-Piece on 4-wheel drive vehicles, and then we had to walk the rest of the way into Font-Saint-Jacques. I reconstructed the road, completely paved. We started the drainage works. We lose the elections. As soon as they came in, they stopped the construction of the drains. And the road is being undermined every single day by the weather. All they had to do was complete the drains, put 2 culverts and some guardrails on the road, debush the road, and would have had a perfect road. And that was done as well with the idea, Spider, that when we completed the Esperance Diamond Road, we would have resurfaced the Font Saint-Jacques Road from Soufrière all the way up to Mini. You know, I'm happy that they started the resurfacing of the Font Saint-Jacques Road up to the Free Road, but I am hoping that they are going to continue the resurfacing up to Mini, because the Free Road to Mini is in very bad condition. You know, I want to thank her for resurfacing that road. You know, Spider, we did the Hummingbird Beach Park. Remember, it was an initiative that was conceptualized by the United Workers' Party, by the Soufrière Foundation and Alan Chasley in 2011, where we started laying down the foundation of the concession booths. And when they came in 2011, for 5 years, they did nothing. They never touched the project. When I came in, I promised the people that I am going to deliver that Hummingbird Beach project, you know, for the people of Fontbernier, Palmis, and Soufrière in general. I did so. And in the construction phase, we had over 60 persons employed there in the construction phase of the Hummingbird Beach project. Have approximately 7 or 8 tenants creating employment, and activities are taking place there. Probably Soufrière is the only constituency with such a beach park, a beach facility like Hummingbird Beach. But unfortunately, again, by the 4 years of this government, this administration, this parliamentary representative, and the place has been neglected. You know, the car park, there's no light in the car park. The flowers are not been taken care of. You know, the landscaping is not been done. There's no lighting on the beach. We had Hurricane Beryl, which did some damages there. They only replaced 1 or 2 steps around the beach bar and so on. The boardwalk is falling apart. You know, the pipes are choked. In the area there for the drainage of waste coming from the concession booths and so on, you know, and they've not done the upkeep which ought to be done for the facility to keep it in a pristine condition that is going to wow visitors, wow our locals, our St. Lucian people when they come to the beach park. There's another project which I undertook, Spider, and all what I did, Spider, all those projects were people-centered projects. Projects that empowers people, that improve the lives of
because
people.
You spoke of the Hummingbird Beach Park, I can see economic activity being generated as a result of that.
That's right. It created new entrepreneurs. You know, and the new entrepreneurs, they hired persons, they buy from farmers, they buy from fishermen, you know, and so on. Tourists come there, there's a lot of buying and spending, so there's a trickle-down effect coming from the Hummingbird Beach existence. And I was saying about the Old Trafford complex, Spider. And I want to dispel something which has been going on since the construction of this project, Spider. And I'm very happy that you're the host. You have intimate knowledge of Old Trafford complex, Spider. Andrew, when we came into government, there was we had a meeting. I had a meeting with SSDF, the manager of the BNTF fund of SSDF, and I think 2 or 3 other staff members of SSDF. And I was in the Ministry of Economic Development at the time with Guy Joseph. And we met in the conference room. That at that time, the ministry was based in the car park, I think the 7th floor of the car park. And they said to me, Minister, there is a plan for access and drainage in Soufrière for the Old Trafford. I told him, explain to me. We've had several floodings in Soufrière, with the river overflowing its banks in the Wingsville area and the water coming all the way down on the road, flooding the Soufrière Hospital and going straight onto the Old Trafford. And there was a gas station there at the time. Mr. Gustav had a gas station. So they said that they were going to be building a drain all the way almost at Wingsville, coming down past in front of the hospital, go under the Old Trafford and dump the water into the river. And there was another drain that was going to be going across as well to join that other drain to throw all excess water, whether there is a flooding or whatever, into the river. And then they were going to build a slab somewhere on Old Trafford, and that slab was for vehicles to park. And on a Saturday, the vendors who were at the time vending on the ground next to the cemetery and the fisheries complex, they would come there to vend. I told them, this plan, the access drainage is ideal, that is needed, but I have another plan, I have a vision for Old Trafford. They said, what it is, Minister? I said, I want the Old Trafford complex to be turned into a central bus terminal for the Soufrière Jacques bus stand, the Vieux-Fort bus stand, and the Castres bus stand, and also to have the farmers and vendors market in that area. They said, we don't think that could work because that project was funded by the CDB, Caribbean Development Bank, which was in the tune of almost, I think, $1.5 or $1.6 million at the time. But they said, okay, however, Minister, we are going to hold on with the rest of the works, and we are going to consult with the CDB and get back to you. They came back, Spider. They said the CDB said no, they cannot put any market and bus terminal there. And there was a back and forth until you, as Minister of Equity, I came to you, I told you what was going on, and you called a meeting with all parties, including myself, and we discussed it, and we said that this is what the parliamentary rep, the minister, wants for his constituency. We need to work with him. And back to the CDB agreed that the rest of the monies, we would work to get a bus terminal and a market. So what did we do, Spider? What cut in your shot? I had the department, the architectural section of my department of physical planning to come down to Soufrière to map out the whole of Old Trafford, where we were going to be putting the parking for the buses, the roads going around the facility, where we're going to be putting the bus, the shelters for passengers waiting for the buses, the concession booths, and also the market structure. All of that was well mapped out based on the survey plan of the facility. We built a rubble wall, retaining wall opposite the town hall, and also we built half of the seawall to the front facing the sea, with the monies that remained on the contract. And of course they did the casting of the road, the parking bays on the facility, and they left the areas for the market, the bus shelters, the concession booths, and then the pot cochet open. And what did we do? I was able to get monies through the CDP and also through the Soufrière Foundation to complete the project to what it is today, the Soufrière bus terminal and farmers market and the Old Trafford complex. So when the Labour Party and my predecessor comes and says that this was a project conceived by them, and that, you know, they keep on saying, I stole the project, my whole project, you know, you are in a key position, Spider, to explain to them, to say, let them know whether what I have said was what transpired.
And you're right, and I remember saying to you that I was very impressed with the whole concept and so on, because I saw it as a trend-setting model. Because I don't know, I may be wrong, I don't know any other constituency where there is a bus terminal.
None.
And, you know, if a amount of commuting that takes place, I think that has to be done, something more elaborate than that in Castres and in all the constituencies. That is a model that can be copied by other constituencies. I commended you for that project. It's a remarkable project, and I'm sure it's now redounding to the benefit of your bus drivers, your farmers, your vendors, and everybody.
Everybody.
So that was remarkable. That's very impressive. Before we just open the line, is there any other? I mean, I suspect you have a long list of projects to go through. Is there any other project you want to highlight?
Yes. Well, there are two other projects I want to highlight. We know the state of healthcare in the country, and we understood the pressures which OKEU and St. Jude's were going through, especially during COVID and after COVID. And we went ahead, Spider, and acquired 3.86 acres of land to build a new Soufrière hospital. And this hospital, we already had a concept, design concept, and it was supposed to be a 30-bed hospital, fully equipped, one operating room, decompression chamber, because Soufrière is a tourist area, so in case there was any divers suffering from bends and so on, they could have been rushed into the hospital in the chamber to save their lives and so on. And again, we limited office, and there is no word from this government, this parliamentary representative, as to the status of the new Soufrière hospital.
So that hospital is just on hold?
Well, I'm not sure if it is on hold, but I guess it is on hold because every year in the budget you keep on hearing Soufrière $1 million for Soufrière hospital for whatever it is, and nothing is coming through. So we acquired the land, the United Lucas Party government, and we would like to know what is the status of the development.
Well,
of
from
that
my
hospital.
experience, let me just say that to you and the people of Soufrière. From my experience, I mean, you remember Emma Hippolyte was once a parliamentary representative of Grosile. At the time, Grosile was one of the major towns in the country, did not have a proper center for the community. So we embarked on constructing a human resource development center. Elections came, the EWP was out of office, I lost my seat and so on. Emma spent 5 years as parliamentary representative in the constituency. I had to return
I remember that.
and to complete
The human resource center. I remember that.
So if you all are waiting for Emma, I'm just telling you, don't hold your breath.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah. And
I'm just putting you on like the saying goes these days, I'm putting you on notice.
On notice.
You will have to finish it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there was also another plan, Spider. I mean, there are many other projects which I did, but I want to run through this one quickly. The old town hall building, which was severely compromised and could not be used again by the town council or for any social event. So we had again the Department of Physical Planning for the architectural section. We had a concept design for a municipality building, or what you call an administrative building, which was going to be about 4 stories, and it would have housed all key government agencies, where persons from Soufrière, Choiseul, Canries would no longer have to travel to Castries or Vieux-Fort for essential government services like your ID card, or to get a new passport done, or to get your birth certificate, marriage certificate, driver's license, and all those things. It would have been done right there in Soufrière, because we were going to decentralize essential government services, the office of the mayor, the parliamentary representative, and all of that in this one municipality building to serve those 3 West Coast constituencies. Again, that is nobody's coming from them on that yet, and it is something that I am going to do, of course, when I return to government. But one of the projects which we are going to be doing was the waterfront redevelopment in Soufrière, Spider, where we are going to be putting the boardwalk from Barons Drive, La Petite Bolo, coming all the way down to the waterfront, next to the police station, where we would have pedestrianized the waterfront, and put on cafes and bistros and bars and so on there, and to just change the whole waterfront and etc. And today,
I imagine that will all be part of the village tourism.
All part of village tourism. And again, all of these are people-centered projects to empower the people, to give them that level of independence so that they can get opportunities, make opportunities out of those developments for themselves. And today, it's almost a year that Hurricane Beryl caused severe damage to the 2 jetties on the waterfront in Soufrière. And both jetties, both the small one next to the police station and the bigger one next to the gas station on the waterfront, they are severely compromised. And we know that the government, that the parliamentary representative of Soufrière went on a secret date, had a secret meeting, made a secret deal with GPH for 40 years and sold out the Soufrière port and the Castries port. And up to a day like today, GPH have not put one pile in the ground in Soufrière. The jetties are compromised, but yet still you have persons, you have tourists disembarking and embarking on those 2 jetties. And what is worst and more frustrating and creating anger amongst a lot of the residents in Soufrière, particularly the vendors, is that all those catamarans, all those boats come in, Andre, Spider, almost on a daily basis, they disembark and embark tourists on the jetties. But when our local St. Lucians on a Sunday are coming down on the boat rides, the authorities in Soufrière are preventing our locals from disembarking on those same jetties. Now, when the boat rides come and they dock on those jetties, or people disembark on those jetties, you have like over 100 persons from one of the catamarans. So if you have 2 or 3 boat rides, that's about 300 people in the town, on the waterfront, around the town. So they buy from vendors who have the grills, the barbecues, and the food, bars on the waterfront. They walk down to Barron's Drive. They patronize. So all of those persons now are losing business. They're losing income on a Sunday, which really was able to sustain them on that particular day. And I'm saying that because this is the same Labour Party. If you remember, Spider, when we were in government during COVID, when we were slowly reopening the country and to tourism and so on, and tourists were coming down to Soufrière, going to different places, and locals were being asked to stay home and stay in their zones and so on. They were shouting, it is a case of 2 St. Lucia. A St. Lucia for the tourists and a St. Lucia for the citizens. So today, is it a case of two Soufrières? A Soufrière for the tourists, but not a Soufrière for our local St. Lucians. I'm saying that so that people can see and understand the hypocrisy of the St. Lucia Labour Party. They say one thing today in opposition, but when they're in government, they do something different.
Mr. Stanislas, I have a very, very good question for you. I think Mr. Montut might like that question as well. When I listen to you, great projects, right? Great projects, albeit some of them didn't come to fruition. And you said something, you said they're all people-centered. So let me ask you something. So what could have gone wrong that you'd have lost to the incumbent? What went wrong?
Very good question, Andre. I lost the elections by 65 votes. And, many persons have asked that question. And when I travel throughout the country and I travel the US and so on, everybody asked me the question. They never expected my defeat at the polls and so on and etc. I told them it was the will of the people. That's what the people wanted. But I think a number of things went wrong. But specifically, a lot of the people, they were misled by the lies, the propaganda of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And that basically created a national swing against United Workers' Party. And each and every one of us fell victim to the narrative of the Labour Party.
And if I may add here, I would say that at least the people have seen for themselves all the lies and the deceit and the bluff.
That's right.
And so now they know, so they're more informed and more enlightened
right now
to make a decision.
And now they can compare and contrast.
Right. So, Andre, while we may still ask questions, I think we should open the line.
Sure.
So that people can meet the next parliamentary
meet the opposition.
Right.
Okay, let me just give the numbers. The fixed line is 572-9710. Fixed line 572-9710, or you can call the WhatsApp platform at 287-0971. The WhatsApp platform is 287-0971. Again, fixed line, 572-9710, or WhatsApp 287-0971. You have a call on the WhatsApp platform when you're ready.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Caller, please go ahead and make your contribution.
Good morning to Mr. Montut, and good morning to one of the best parliamentary representatives that Soufrière have ever had, Mr. Stanislas, Harold Stanislas.
Morning to you, sir.
Because how come you never tell me that? Go ahead.
Yes, Spider, you've made your mark in Rosalie. Your achievements, is well documented.
I'm just kidding, brother. I'm just kidding. Go ahead and make your contribution.
I'm just saying that you have done a wonderful job, a tremendous job in the constituency of Grozili, and your work stands out, and any blind person can see your work in Grozili. I want to ask Mr. Stanislas a question. You were talking about this road is it SPS?
Esperance Diamond.
Right. And you were saying that there's a dubious contract that was awarded to somebody that doesn't even reside in Soufrière, and that Emma Hippolyte, as usual, continues to go on have secret meetings or continues to go on secret dates, and there's no transparency and accountability.
The contract was not for Esperance Diamond. The Esperance Diamond was constructed under my tenure. We started the drainage works, but when they came into office in 2021, they stopped all those works up to a day like today, they have not restarted. The contract I was talking about for $800,000 is a new contract, a new project which is taking place at Itangs in Soufrière, Les Etats.
Right. So could you please elaborate on that so that the Saint-Lucian public would know the dubious deals, the secret deals, bearing in mind that Emma Hippolyte is part of the GPH deal where our ports are now in the hands of a foreign company. And she admitted publicly that she went on a secret date and had a secret meeting with the officials of GPH. And as of today, the Soufrière port does not belong to the people of Saint Lucia. So those two issues, could you elaborate more on that?
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller, and very good question. It is very obvious that this particular project contract which was awarded to this lady from Castries was a secret deal. This lady is basically fronting the project for someone in Soufrière. And I've asked the question, where is it someone who's heading one of the key agencies in Soufrière? Is it a government official that she is fronting the project for? The people of Soufrière want answers. The people of Chateau-Belair, of Fonds-Jean-Libre, Mont-Lacroix, Itangs, Soufrière, Bouton, Font-Saint-Jacques, they want answers. For whom is she fronting the project? And the answer is not forthcoming. So obviously it is a secret deal, and they're trying to amass as much money as they can for the upcoming elections. The electioneering is going on all across the country, including Soufrière.
Yeah, but
they're busy all over the place.
You have a caller?
I have a caller. Okay. Caller, good day. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Please go ahead and make your contribution.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
How you all doing?
Doing fine.
Well,
Hope you're doing fine as well.
Man. My minister, that's Percy there.
Hey, Percy, how you doing?
And they're not too bad.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, let me tell you, the last election, I was in Soufrière. That's why I voted, you know? And after everything, going down Quendela, that's why I stayed. That's why I'm leaving when I'm in Soufrière.
Right.
And they had irregularity in your election by you losing that election. Irregularity by you losing that election. And I get it from good ground.
Okay.
It's not somebody that tell me. I get it from the hard supporter of the Labour Party. Because I was among them. They are my good friends. They are my friends. That is, as I tell people that already. I have more friends in the Labour Party than the UWP.
Right.
All of them are from Quendela. And they had irregularity by you losing that election. That's what they told me. Yeah, that is the reason why you lost the election.
Understood. Well, we are going to be very vigilant this time around. As Spider said, that we're going to be keeping our eyes on the electoral office, the voters list, and doing all what we ought to be doing as a party, readying ourselves to take over the governance of this country.
Let me say this to you, Harold. This time, do not take that for granted. Don't take it for granted. Take everything very, very, very serious.
Definitely
because that's
so.
what you always lack of something the last election.
Right.
That is why you all lose that election. I'm going to say it straight. You all was not together the last election. I'm going to say it straight. UWP was not together. That is why Labour Party take the edge and they run with it and they do what they have to do. That is why we lost the election. But
Right.
this time, I'm telling you all that. This time, take that very, very serious. Look into everything, Harold. Even in Soufrière. Don't give the Emma and them a chance. You have to be on the ball, my brother.
For sure.
You have to be on the ball.
And caller, you have to play your part too by ensuring that you
No,
go out
I
to
will
vote
be there. I will be there.
and
I will be
encourage
there.
others to do the same.
Yeah, that's what I will be there.
Yeah.
Okay, you have another call.
All right. Good day. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Please go ahead and make your contribution. Hello, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Andre. Hi, Harold.
Hello.
I'm Spider.
Morning.
I do not have a question, but I have something to say.
Go ahead, please.
I need on based on the CIP, I need Ernest Hiller and the beneficiaries of CIP to be the ones to pay off Galaxy. That has nothing to do with us taxpayers of St. Lucia because we never benefited. That's all I have to say.
Okay,
All right. Thank you, caller, for your contribution.
Yeah.
You have another call.
Yes.
Spider, there was a caller who asked about the GPH
Yeah.
secret deal. And we also have to understand that questions have been asked from the parliamentary rep and the Soufrière Foundation, and it's not forthcoming.
Yeah.
We know that there are many persons employed in the foundation as dock wardens and cashiers and security officers. What will become of those persons? Is GPH going to absorb those employees? The monies that have been paid by the tourists disembarking on the jetties in Soufrière, are those monies currently going to GPH, or the monies are coming into the foundation? So
all
there are many
all I can
questions.
tell you is that that's part of the secret deal, and
Secret
whenever
deal.
there's a secret, there's something to hide.
That's right.
And if it was something good, they wouldn't hide it.
But
So
definitely.
watch yourselves in Soufrière. Caller, thanks for holding on. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Please make your contribution.
Good day to you, Spider, Mr. Harold, and AP.
Morning.
Hi,
Good morning. Morning.
Okay, so Spider, quickly, in the interest of time, they have a gentleman by the name of Terry Finisterre. And it's been a while I've known this guy holding many jobs and doing pretty much the same thing Kenson claims, and doing even more, based on what I know. So is it okay to say that Terry Finisterre walking around is a multi-millionaire in St. Lucia?
First of all, let me just tell you, Terry Finisterre is a private individual, so I ain't going into that. But
Okay, then I just put it on the-
Andre is my partner, so I put him on the spot. You know, but I asked him if he making real big bucks, but he doesn't answer me. And he does not owe us that answer. It is the public officials who have to come out and tell us, let us know. And let us find out, first of all, from Kenson, what was his submission to the Integrity Commission to begin with. That will give a good indication of where he stood with all the three jobs, in terms of all what he had acquired, all what he owned, what he has saved, and all of that, so we would get a better picture of what the situation is. Yeah. Do we have a call online?
Not as yet.
Okay, not as yet. You know, Harold, I must say to you before the program ends.
We have a call.
Okay. Yes, caller, good day. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Please go ahead and make your contribution.
Yeah, morning, Spider.
Hi, morning.
Daddy Harold, morning.
Morning. So.
And Mr. Andre.
Morning, sir.
Daddy Harold never loses to prayer. If they tip him for the last election.
Well-
he never lose.
Well, you have to be there like a soldier next time to ensure that you all keep your eyes and ears open to see to it that does not happen again.
And Emma know that. Emma self know that if they tip the man. Because that is one of the best. That is one of the best we have in Soufrière, is Mr. Harold. And them self know that.
Yeah, man.
And this election coming there, we must win that.
Yeah, we will win it. We are going to win, my brother. I am going to be back as the parliamentary representative for Soufrière for Jacques to continue on the transformative and progressive works which we started in 2016 and have come to a halt and bring Soufrière back on an upward trajectory again, my brother.
You know, it reminds me of the song that says, you never know the use of a good thing until you lose it. So now that you all have lost it, I think you all have a full appreciation now of what Harold as parliamentary representative meant. I mean, Emma was a failure in Grosley. I don't know why you all thought she would have been any different in Soufrière. So now that you know for yourselves, make the change, make the difference. Yes, thank you very much.
Daddy Harold, that is Pakistan not there.
Yeah, my brother.
You know what I find very interesting, Andre? Those
Appreciate the call.
callers are calling and identifying themselves. And I respect that big time. You're in a democracy, speak your mind, man, and be free and bold and come out openly. And that's what St. Lucians have to start doing. That fear factor has to get out of our politics.
So, Mr. Stanislaus, what is your understanding of irregularities? What is your understanding of that?
Well, irregularities.
I will answer that, Andre. One padding of the voters list.
Yeah.
Okay? That was a big issue in the last election. Okay? Now, I don't talk about it very much because, you know, first thing they're going to tell you, all we're in government, you all should have been watching your business, which is true. But that was a big issue, and it's not going to happen again, I can assure you of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final call.
They'll try it. Now,
You have a call?
Yeah, caller,
Final caller.
welcome. You are final caller for this morning. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Go ahead and make your contribution, please.
Yes, good morning. And let me hail Harold. Thank you, sir, for making us proud, coming back again, and to make Soufrière even prouder.
Your caller is making me jealous, you know. Go ahead, make it.
I am a native of Soufrière, and I know Harold personally. His father taught me at school, and everything about his father was excellent. So the father's project is him, product is him, right? So he's very excellent. I was living overseas, working overseas, and when I came to Soufrière on my normal vacation, I'm seeing this stadium. So I'm asking one of my friends, but where am I? Am I overseas? Because I'm seeing a big change, because from little boy playing on the field by the Soufrière Comprehensive School,
Right.
it was just pure turf, pure rocks, little rocks, eating up the food. And now that I am seeing the progress of Soufre, and at that time Herod was the representative, I say, oh my goodness, we have new vision, new representation. Lord, give him the health and strength so he can continue for Soufre. Now, at the time that election come, I did not vote. But this time, I could be in Monte Carlo. I'm coming back.
Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that caller, and
to make sure that we bring this guy back for continuation of progress for our kids.
That's right? Correct. Don't take anything for granted.
So they can grow, and knowing that the kind of minds that put things together are good minds. Herod, all the best. I'm praying for you.
Thank you very much.
And when I meet you, I will introduce myself to you.
No problem. Well appreciated.
Okay, thank you, caller. That was our last call. Herod, before we end, I just have to say this. I didn't want to say it to you too early in the program, but I'm telling you, you're a young man that I admire greatly. You have matured tremendously in politics, as a politician. I've watched your growth, and I think you have come of age. You show a level of maturity, you show a level of vision, and the competence that you have demonstrated with your past performance as a parliamentary representative, and the plans, some of the plans that you articulated there today. I think you have a very bright future in politics, and I want to tell you, you are an individual that I wish the very best. I can only see better things for Soufre with you as a parliamentary representative, and I would urge the people of Soufre to ensure that they return you as the parliamentary representative of Soufre. And I have to tell you, as a former parliamentary rep myself, you were the envy of all of us in cabinet, right? In terms of how you perform and so on. So, and Soufre, like I said, you don't know the use of a good thing until you lose it. Make sure that you preserve it. You don't take anything for granted, and return Herod as your parliamentary representative. I want to thank everyone who were listening and watching. I want to thank especially our listeners who are watching on the new platforms on YouTube, on X, and those of you who are always been on Facebook, and those of you listening on Rev-Up. Thanks once again. I want to wish all of you a very happy Easter weekend, and come next week, Thursday, we will be back here again, where you will get an opportunity to meet the opposition. Andre, I'm trying to bring as many of the candidates as possible as I can, because we have 17 of them. So, and we're hoping that before elections, each of them can make at least 2 rounds. So, I was happy. I think we had a very good show today. I think
the vast majority of the calls, if not all, were from Soufre.
Were from Soufre. And that's
I recognize the voices.
That's right. And very positive calls too.
Yes.
So that should augur well for you, Harold. I think you're on a good wicket. And, or should I say a good track? Well, your cricket ground is not ready yet, so I'll say on a good track. So keep it going. Do what you have to do.
Thank you very much, Spider.
Yeah, so Andre, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Matut, and thank you, Mr. Stanislaus.
Thank you, Andre.
Yes, this has been Meet the Opposition, heard on Rev-Up St. Lucia every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So join us next week, Thursday, for another Meet the Opposition. Well, this is where I end my stint here on Rev-Up for today, Thursday, the 17th of April. Thanks for listening and thanks for viewing. We have Kina coming up next. He'll be with you until 3 o'clock this afternoon. From 3 is going to be Zen the DJ. So do enjoy the rest of your day until tomorrow morning. By the way, tomorrow is Good Friday, so we're not having any programming tomorrow. So that means there'll be no Meet the Minister. So enjoy the rest of your day and have yourself a safe Good Friday and a safe Easter weekend. Bye-bye.
Shared on this show do not necessarily reflect those of Rev-Up St. Lucia, its owners, affiliates, or advertisers, and